Hello everybody, Jake H here, and if you're here for Pokemon content, then you've come to the right place. In today's video, we are going to be discussing Legends Arceus again. Now, we have had 0 new updates in regards to this game, but I just can't help but think about what is coming with this game. And then I see all these other people with theories and ideas, and I just want to know so much more. However, in this video, we're not specifically just talking about Legends Arceus. We're going to talk about what if all the other regions had their own Legends games. So, for example, the Sinnoh region has Legends Arceus, which revolves around the god Pokemon Arceus. And with this being the time of Gen 4 remake, with this new exploracious RPG that we will be getting in early 2022, it makes me wonder if we will get new Legends games revolving around the other regions. I was actually scrolling through YouTube yesterday, and I actually noticed someone made a video in regards to what could be a Legends Unova game. I didn't end up watching the video. However, that did get me thinking, what if all the other regions had their own versions of these games where they take place hundreds, if not even thousands, if not millions of years ago in a time long past for certain specific regions? Now, when we talk about Legends Arceus, we do in fact know that there are 3 regions that predate finding the Sinnoh region, and that include Alola, Johto, and Unova, which if we were to continue going in the succession of the games coming out, and if we were to get, say, a black and white remake alongside of it, I would expect to see a Legends Unova game that does predate the Sinnoh games. But we'll get to that shortly. We're actually going to go in order from the generations, obviously skipping 4, because we already know that Legends Arceus is going to be a game. So, without further ado, let's talk about what if all of the regions had a Legends game. First up, we're going to talk about the first region, Kanto. And there is only one mythical revolving around the Kanto region, and that would be Mew, which allegedly is the sibling to Arceus, so it would make a lot of sense for the Kanto region to revolve around Mew, Mew's creation. This would be a game where Mewtwo does not exist at all because it predates Mewtwo's creation, and Mew would obviously play a pretty big role in this game, assuming it would ever come out. What the story would entirely entail, not really sure. We don't even really know what Legends Arceus is going to really entail. The only theory I have with Legends Arceus is that there's going to be some possible big battle between Dialga and Palkia, maybe Arceus having to do something in regards to that. Not entirely sure, but we know Arceus is going to play a very big role, as Mew would play a big role in a Legends Kanto game, so it would probably be called Pokemon Legends Mew. From that short snippet, let's go to the Johto region, where again, there is only one mythical Pokemon, which is Celebi. Now, yes, we can make the assumptions that the games may not revolve around mythicals. It could revolve around the other legends, such as the trio, Suicune, Entei, and Raikou. But when we're talking about these Legends games, it looks like Arceus being the focus and it being a mythical would make a lot of sense for other games to also have mythicals as their primary subject, as legendary Pokemon in previous games are extremely easy to acquire, especially with, the Crown Tundra DLC, where you can get every single previous legendary that was in the games. So it would make a lot of sense for these Legends games to continue the trend of adding mythicals, because they're a lot harder to acquire. The only way to typically acquire mythicals is through an out-of-game event that you can get like a code or download something, and then you can play the event or you just acquire the Pokemon. But they're extremely difficult to get, and they don't show up very often, a la Celebi and Mew not really showing up super often. So what would Celebi's game involve? Well, Celebi is kind of like the god of the forest, so maybe it involves something really bad happening in Johto. Again, I could speculate with some sort of a battle between like Lugia and Ho-Oh, or something with the dog trio. It's hard to really say, but it probably has something to do in regards to some sort of war or some sort of battle, and Celebi is needed to kind of restore things into balance. So obviously, if we were to have a Legends Johto game, it would actually more than likely be called Pokemon Legends Celebi. Moving on from there, let's talk about the Hoenn region. Now, Hoenn actually has 2 mythicals, not just one. Those 2 mythicals are Jirachi and Deoxys. Now, as to which of these 2 I feel like it could revolve around, it really could be either one, but I want to steer more in the direction of Jirachi. The only reason I'm steering in the direction of Jirachi is because Jirachi goes into like a 1,000-year slumber, and that could really involve this Pokemon a lot if we're talking about a game that takes place hundreds, if not thousands, of years ago. Again, I don't really know what the story would entail, but, we just have to see when the time comes. Now, there also could be speculation that it revolves around Groudon and Kyogre actually, duking it out, and then Rayquaza coming in and, making sure that feud comes to a stop, but that's really hard to say, and on top of that, again, Groudon, Kyogre, and Rayquaza are already extremely easy to acquire, so why would the games revolve around that? Now, they could be involved in the story, and that's fine, but again, these Legends games seem to have some sort of focus on mythical Pokemon as opposed to legendary Pokemon, which, again, are much easier to get than mythicals at any point in time. And speaking of, the only other reason I don't think Deoxys is involved is because A, the Pokemon, it involves a meteorite coming down, and that, we see that in the Delta episode of Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. Not saying Deoxys probably wasn't here before, but Deoxys was acquirable in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. It was the first mythical ever to be acquired in-game without some special event or code. Now, yes, when the original Gen 3 games came out, Deoxys was only acquirable through an event, but in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, that changed. So Deoxys is actually one of the most easily acquirable mythicals in any single game whatsoever. So that really leans me into Jirachi kind of possibly playing some big part into a Legends Hoenn game. Story stuff aside, if that is the Pokemon that more than likely would be involved in a Legends Hoenn game, I would have to say that the game would be called Pokemon Legends Jirachi. Now, could we expect to see any of those 3 games anytime soon? Probably not. Why? Well, if we're talking about going in order and, doing remakes and stuff, it makes a lot more sense to have Unova be the next one. So if we're following the trend of things going on currently, if there were to be a black and white remake, it would probably be by a different company, which I'm totally fine with. Other companies getting involved in these games is not the end of the world. In fact, I highly encourage it because it brings new stuff to the table. Of course, Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl are supposed to be one-for-one remakes, but I'm not really all that concerned with it since there's going to be some platinum elements in there. But if they were to release a black and white remake, probably in the same format of Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, then alongside that, we should expect a Legends game revolving around Unova. Now, Unova actually has the most mythical Pokemon besides the Sinnoh region. Those 4 are Victini, Keldeo, Meloetta, and Genesect. Now, be quick to presume that Genesect would not make this list. However, that's the Pokemon I would actually think would be the most involved in this. Why? Well, the other ones don't really have a significant role in the Unova region per se. And Genesect, while yes, it is a reformatted Pokemon, it is an ancient reformatted Pokemon. So if we were to get a Legends game and it revolved around Genesect, it would actually involve Genesect's original form and the power that Genesect actually has before Team Plasma reformatted it into the machine that it is now. So it would still be a bug-type Pokemon, but we're not entirely sure if it would have a secondary typing or what it originally looked like. Victini doesn't play a huge role in Unova, it just brings victory to the trainer that has it in its possession. Keldeo is now the second most easily acquirable mythical in the games as a result of the Crown Tundra DLC that came with Sword and Shield, just doing a couple little tricks and having 3 specific Pokemon in your party. You could acquire Keldeo in the Crown Tundra DLC, which is why I do not suspect that Keldeo would be involved in this, although there could be a storyline involving it if the games were released. And then Meloetta, I don't think there's just a lot on Meloetta. It's just a musical Pokemon. I'm not saying it wasn't around a couple thousand years ago, but it's extremely rare, and we have more information regarding Genesect and its history more than we do the other 3. And Keldeo just has involvement with the Swords of Justice, but again, since it's so easily acquirable as is, I have just such high doubt if they were to make a Legends Unova game, it would revolve around Keldeo. Again, what role would the primary Pokemon play in this? It's hard to say. I actually could see this game revolving more around Kyurem, which is a legendary Pokemon, again, easily acquirable. But one thing about Kyurem that we have never seen in games is its true form. Since Kyurem is so disfigured and it looks incomplete, but is able to merge with Reshiram and Zekrom, we know that Kyurem is not a complete Pokemon, and perhaps if the game were to revolve around Kyurem instead of a mythical Pokemon, we could see Kyurem's true form. So if I were to pick any single Pokemon from these games, it would either have to be Kyurem in its real form or Genesect. If we're going along the trend that the games specifically revolve around mythical Pokemon though, I would have to say if there was a Generation 5 Legends game, it would be called Pokemon Legends Genesect. Moving on to Kalos. Kalos has 3 different mythicals, and that include Diancie, Hoopa, and Volcanion. Now, the one I can already eliminate from this list would be Diancie. Diancie is a evolved form, kind of Carbink. It comes from Carbink. Carbinks have been around for a long time, and Diancie is just basically a rare alternate form and a more powerful form of Carbink. So I don't see Diancie potentially playing a huge role in a game. Now, if it does involve Mega Evolutions, which was one of the really big things about Kalos, then yes, I could see Diancie being a major role. But if we're talking about a story that takes place a long time ago, the 2 most reasonable would be Hoopa or Volcanion. I mean, Volcanion is what it is. It's a volcano Pokemon. It makes a lot of sense for it to, kind of have something to do with the region and the region's creation. But out of the 2, I would say Hoopa would play one of the biggest, most prominent stories. Why? Because Hoopa is able to open dimensions, and Hoopa also has 2 forms without using Mega Evolution. Hoopa in its tiny form and Hoopa in its horrifying other form. And as a matter of fact, Hoopa did play a big role in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. But why? Because when you were going to different islands, there were portals on certain islands. And those portals were very reminiscent of the hoops that Hoopa uses to open other dimensions. So if we were to see a Legends Kalos game, I feel like Hoopa would be the most likely option to revolve a game around because of its incredible power. So if we were to have a Legends Kalos game, I would think it would be called Pokemon Legends Hoopa. Moving on to Alola, we're now approaching 2 very recent games, which would be the Sun and Moon franchise and the Sword and Shield franchise. So these ones would be very unlikely to get games, especially since Alola does predate Sinnoh. And how do we know that? Well, Rowlet is going to be in Legends Arceus. Alola has already been discovered. This game would predate Legends Arceus. By how long? We don't really know, but it does predate Legends Arceus. Now, the Alola region has 3 mythicals, and that include Magearna, Marshadow, and Zeraora. Now, none of these 3 play a major role at all in the Alola games, and there's not really a lot of information to them, especially Zeraora. As a matter of fact, Zeraora was not easily acquired, and neither was Marshadow, both of which had to be acquired through a code, and Magearna was the most easily acquirable through a QR code that is on Pokemon's website. Now, that being said, the Pokemon that makes the most sense to be in a game that predates a lot of the other games would be Magearna. But why? Well, Magearna was made hundreds of years ago. Magearna was made by a scientist, but that scientist predates any of the games that we currently know of. Again, would that play a prominent role? It's hard to say. I could see Cosmog being involved in the game in some way. Maybe we see Necrozma playing a big role. It's I don't know. More than likely, we will never get this game just because there's not enough to really have an establishment. Games based on Legends. For this, if there were to be a game, it would be Pokemon Legends Magearna, although I would say if any Legends games were to come out, I really doubt this one would get a Legends game. And if they do, they would probably have to introduce a new mythical Pokemon and probably not use Magearna. And then moving on to our most recent region, we have the Galar region. There's only one mythical that is not easily acquirable. And the only other mythical that exists in the Galar region is Zarude. And I could kind of see Zarude playing a role, but there would be a lot of Zarude still available in this Galar region. So it's hard to say whether or not this game would even exist or have a title, or again, it could end up being like a different game and have a completely brand new mythical that we've never seen before. I don't believe it would involve Meltan and Melmetal. Those are just because they're bolt shaped, and there could be original forms of them, but they're not from Galar. We don't know where those Pokemon are from. Honestly, I guess if there was a title for a Galar region Legends game, it would be Pokemon Legends Zarude, because that's really the only option. Now, obviously, the game could involve Eternatus, and then the two dogs, and yada yada. We all know this, but the game is far, far too recent to have a Legends game, so honestly, the two regions that we're probably not going to see at all, or at least for probably 15 to 20 years, is going to be those two regions. They're just way too recent, and there's not going to be a lot that could involve those two regions that we haven't seen already. But anyways, guys, that's pretty much the video. The only reason I'm making these videos is because I am way too excited for Legends Arceus. Don't get me wrong, I am very excited for Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, but not to the same extent as a Pokemon RPG that we have been waiting for 10, 15 plus years. So again, thank you for coming and watching the video. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Leave a comment. What do you think that these Legends games could be called? Do you have any other information that I don't have? Just let me know. Leave some comments. Do you think we will actually get any other Legends games? If we do, what do you think the next one would be? Come back here for more theories and information. Subscribe to know when new videos come out. Thank you again, and I will see you all on the next video. Have a good one.